All right. Me and Jeff are back here. Today, what is it, Jeff? March 15th, 2024. We're going to go over
Sir.
um, what's going on in the precious metals. As I'm recording this video right now, silver has another really big day, up 46 cents, which, of course, when you say 46 cents over certain assets that go up $5,000 overnight, $10,000. This seems like a complete joke, but obviously percentage-wise, this is a pretty good move. And and gold is up like $2.50. So it is in many ways laughable until it's not. So can you go over the scenario when people actually realize what is going on, and what are you noticing again with all these Bitcoin maxes that popping up on our feeds, and all the puffing of the chest and everything? What's going on, Jeff? Let us know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good to see you again, man, and glad to keep this conversation going. It's really it's been a pleasure, and I got a feeling we'll be keeping it going. And I also think it's just been a good time. Like the last, since our first interview we did this, we've really seen, there's been kind of a lot of progress, if you will, on the silver dollar price front, because everybody's worried about the dollars, right? Everybody's worried about the dollars. So you're gonna see the dollar price of gold and silver do all their thing. But yeah, I I think that we're on the last leg here of this right shoulder of this just multi-year inverse head and shoulders. And if you don't know what that is, you can Google it. It's a technical pattern. It's just this multi-year pattern on silver where it's just so clear. If you guys, I'm sure everybody that's going to see this, you're probably already following me and Marco here on Twitter, but you can see the charts on Twitter. It's we are right at a point where I think something it'll be an over the weekend type thing. And recently, you have seen Bob Coleman, and I don't know his handle right off the bat. I think it's Profits Plus ID or something like that. If you're not following Bob Coleman, you need to be following him on this stuff. But he's been
What is
documenting a lot
your
of the.
what is your Twitter handle? So I don't forget, it's Silver Bark
Oh,
3, right?
yeah, Silver Bark 3. Yep, the number 3. Yep.
BARK.
And so he's been noticing, and a lot of other people as well, been noticing that the borrow fees, I guess, to short the SLV trust and the GLD trust have been really spiking. And typically when this happens, something funky is going on behind the scenes. No one, I mean, I don't think anyone really knows exactly what's going on, but it's associated with volatility. And, if you pair that with the technical pattern that you're seeing, and again, just the general world out there, something really significant seems pretty imminent, within the next few weeks or what have you, who knows. But if you look at a chart of SLV, and again, this is the JP Morgan custodian trust, of silver, there's a big gap down from 2013, which obviously started like the multi-year, decade-long, we're still in it essentially, bear market in metals and miners. And if you look at that, and then you look at a spot chart of silver, you can see a little bit of a divergence. We're starting to kind of, on a spot chart, we're chewing into that area where the gap would be on a chart of SLV. We're not there yet on SLV. We're still below that gap. And again, just kind of seeing what's happening, we're talking like, what are we at here? 25.50. I think we got to 25.50 or so today.
Right now it's
pulled back a little bit. It looks like
25.40 as
yeah,
we're
20. I got 25.18 on mine. All these things are different too. I mean, so it's hard to even get the same price. But anyways,
all right. Just
I would
hold on,
see,
hold
it's
on on
not.
that. Just
Yeah,
for a second, for
yeah.
those that are not familiar, what we're talking about here, it's called the spot price. And there are certain places where you can track the spot price of precious metals. Like I follow it on JM Bullion. That's what I look. So when I read off 46 cents spike for silver today, I'm looking at JM Bullion. I don't know if you can see it here. It's just a JM Bullion
You can
spot.
see that. Yeah,
Yeah, there he goes. And it's showing 25.40. But are you on a trading view? And can you just
yeah.
real
Mine's
quick,
trading view.
can you real
Yeah,
quick with
20
the head and
25.18.
shoulders 25.18 for the trading view. Can you just go back on that with the head and shoulders? When you said the inverse, for those that are not familiar, this is just for the technical. I am more just macro guy. I'm not rushing to technical. That's why I like to talk to you, because you are on both sides, understanding the whole picture.
Yeah.
So we got the head and shoulders that are very bearish, and then you got inversed head. And can you show us, looking at yourself with the shoulders and the head? It's actually better for those.
Yeah. Essentially, so head and shoulders would be, here's your head, here's your shoulder, and you would have the price action that comes up one side and goes down the other, right? Boom, you got a big spike in the middle. And an inverse is the opposite. And so essentially you got you'll have a price spike and then a big drop, right? So you got the shoulder on one side, big drop, rebound. So now you got the head down at the bottom, another drop, you make the other shoulder, and then you have, the neckline there, where if you theoretically break that neckline, right, it should produce a measured move where you can kind of tell within a range where the price target would be before some kind of, correction, if you will. So this big inverse head and shoulders on silver, which goes back to we had the big rally in 2020, and it kind of, it broke down, if you will, in July of 21, and it made the first shoulder, and then it broke down right at, as the war in Ukraine got going, it broke down, which is, obviously that's kind of, it goes against what you would think. Gold had the same breakdown. Anyways, that breakdown made this big head. Now we've been flagging on the other side of that, making the other shoulder, or the right shoulder, on this inverse head and shoulders. So the target when we break that would be, sorry, I should know this by heart. It's somewhere around 34, I think. So from the bottom that we saw in summer of 2022, and that was around 1750, and this is spot price, because at that point a silver eagle cost you about $40, which is funny. The spot price was 1750. Then we rallied up through the banking crisis in 2023. We got to about 2576. That was, we'll call it, just for a round number, we're going to call it a 50% move. So a move off of this, if it plays out technically, again, this is all complete speculation, and I'm an amateur at this. I've learned by watching other people do it. The target would be somewhere around $38. And it seems like, what we're seeing right now from the price action, just on a day-to-day basis, it seems like it's a reasonable bet that we're pretty close to that type of that type of action. You got the SLV thing going on. The gap is right overhead, and in again in like a technical term, you have these gap ups and gaps down where all the price action happens overnight, and you wake up on our market and there's a huge gap in price. Is like essentially what that means, where no trading happened on an open cash U.S. market. So it wouldn't surprise me to see silver go up, $1, $2, or what have you, on a Sunday night, right? As soon as Asia opens. And then when we open up here on Monday, SLV is gonna, essentially it would have to match that gap up. And it just so happens that from a timing perspective, we're all the macro things are happening in the world right now. You've got Bitcoin, $73,000. I mean, you got the S&P 500 and the Qs, the NASDAQ, off the charts. Nvidia, these companies are putting on hundreds of billions of dollars of value every day. So we're in LaLa Land, and we're going to wake up one day, and who knows what it is? Silver may gap up. It may gap up to $38. I don't know. Maybe it gaps up to 50. Maybe it doesn't gap up at all. Maybe we all crash down to zero one morning, and the price of everything is zero. I don't know. But this thing, man, just like, I don't think that would happen. You're looking at the chart patterns, and that doesn't happen very often or ever. But there are things like the COVID situation where you had the big drop in markets, which essentially was like a straight 90-degree move down for a week or two. So those things happen, but that's already happened. That was peak deflation, and we're just getting into the inflation part of this. Did you see the PPI numbers this week? Did you see it? They were expecting like 0.3 and they got 0.6. And you annualize 0.6, you're at 7.2%. And they say we're like, I mean, we've bottomed and we're going up big time. And so that's where I would see it's not in the last one when they did what they did in 2020. Silver hit bottom at what 1150 in the that crazy week in March, and then it rallied over 100%. It went up to what, $30. So totally feasible in this next inflation wave that we get up to that $50 range. And if we get up there, I mean, people say that derivative bomb is up there that just essentially shuts the whole thing down. But I guess we'll see.
Going back to the lockdown of 2020, you are correct. Silver was roughly between $11 or so on the low, and that was the spot price.
You were paying 100% premium for a Silver Eagle though.
Yes, and I tried
just like in.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember going. I bought 10 Silver Eagles on in that week when it hit 11. I don't know if it was exactly that day, but the guy looked and he's like, $20. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I did, but I'm like, this is 100% premium on this. I mean, it's insane. And then that was when like all the websites were just wiped out. Everything was wiped out of physical product. And it's been I think that's coming again, and it's going to be, but this time it seems like it's on the industrial front. Like you got these and this is where it's been fascinating to have some conversations with the Bitcoin community, whom I got respect for everything that the originals stand for as far as currency debasement and all that stuff. And again, Bitcoin has done its job in that regard. But like, NVIDIA and Apple and the entire military industrial complex, none of these things even exist without silver here, right? Like they do not exist. And so you and I have figured out this whole game that's been going on with inflation. What naturally comes along with inflation is shortages and all that stuff. There's always a story that goes along with it. We're going into a time when things are going to be scarce, and you have this perfect pattern that's on the silver, this huge inverse head and shoulders. I guarantee you, this time, instead of the retail trying to do its thing like the silver squeeze, it's been the big boys doing this because they need those products. They don't have silver, game over. You're not getting the iPhones, you're not getting the new headsets, you're not getting your F-16s or F-22s, and you're not getting any of it unless you're not getting your missiles, you're not getting your shells, your artillery. None of that stuff happens. You're not getting the supercomputers, you're not getting the AI, all that stuff. And so that's where I keep putting this meme up, right? Imagine you're a poker player. We're playing a game of poker right now against the East, and it's that scene from Tombstone when Doc Holliday is like, "Well, I must be deranged, but I suppose I'll just have to call." They have called us. And so now you're getting this backwards effect where essentially we have assigned zero value to the commodities that make the products that create civilization, and we're going to go in reverse now. Now the paper has been called to the mat, right? Like we got to show our cards now. Do we have the stuff? And I don't think we do. And so naturally you got to get it somewhere. And it just so happens it looks like the miners have they're looking pretty good at where they are. I think this whole thing is just coming together perfectly for someone who's had the foresight of like, we do live in a physical reality. I love all the stuff online. Bitcoin, my son and I played Boom Beach, and you got to buy these little gems, right? You can buy them if you want. So I get that there is dollar value assigned to the play world, and a huge number assigned to it. But what we're about to experience is the entire world at once, all realizing this is fucking reality.
Yep.
You have to have copper. You have to have oil. You have to have silver. You know, like, so it's awesome that one Bitcoin buys you 4,000 ounces of silver right now. Excellent. I suggest
Wow.
you
Uh-huh.
study up on what happens when you go through a, massive uh bubble and then it corrects. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, we are in fantasy world, and when that gap fills, when that thing goes in silver, that's when wake up call is coming. It's coming, and you've had ample time at this point to consider that you live in reality. And it breaks my mind at this point. Like, smart people too, the people I pay attention to that got me in, like, the I would love to talk to one of these guys if we could ever get it going, like Lawrence Lepard. Dude, he's brilliant. The Bitcoin part of it, though, I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god. Lynn Alden too. These people are brilliant, and
Yep.
this, you know it just, you cannot make it make sense to me when we are going through a time that we are going through, when it doesn't matter the dollar price of anything. That's the whole point. We've been called
Correct.
to the mat. I
100%
mean, it's
correct.
just crazy. It's just
Yes.
crazy. It's just crazy.
But
It drives me insane.
yeah, but this is like, okay, so there is a lot of people I've been following in precious metals space for a while. There was a guy on, I'm going to try to remember his name, on Palisades Radio. I really like that channel too, Palisades Radio.
Oh, he's great.
And one of the guys that it's a big name, you've heard of it. Like I said, I can't think of the
Luke
name
Gromen.
now.
Luke.
But this guy, not Lou Groman, this guy was talking about
Okay.
how he is not in physical at all. Okay. He is all about mining. It's going to turn at some point, which we both agree. But
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I was just trying to realize why would someone that's in precious metals all this
Yeah,
time not talk about the importance of having physical? That's missing that whole core,
yeah,
what we're trying to say. And when
yeah,
you go
yeah.
back, what happened with the health event in 2020 and all that mess, it was very
You
hard.
couldn't get it.
You put your hands on
Yep.
it. And this is
Yeah,
what I've been telling people the whole time, even though I'm not licensed financial advisor. This is not any kind of financial advice. I'm just trying to, like I always say, make sense out of this nonsense. And I'm looking at it, and you got all these big names that are talking about they're just gambling in the mining sector and talking about the non-importance of physical in your possession.
yeah,
And a lot of them will just say
yeah.
5%, like
I,
Rickards or Ricards, whatever his name is. But I want to add this. This is important. I had someone that stayed at the ranch that I know really well. I tweeted about this. I did not want to, again, talk about his name and all that. He is the VP. What is in he is not the CEO of this miner, silver miner, that we all know which one it is. Okay.
mhm.
He has told me, this was 3 years ago, might have been 2.5 years ago, that he has sold all of his physical to buy crypto, that it's taken over, that he's going to be all Bitcoin. This is the guy that's a VP of a silver mining company that's in Canada. Okay.
Listen to this. I got a good one
I
for you
just,
on that front.
okay.
So the guy, my local shop, about maybe, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, the same kind of deal. He said one of his longtime customers who had gold bullion, and a good bit of it, just kind of came in one day, was like, here it is, all went to Bitcoin. And I'm like, hey, good, man, good. So it's because, and again,
Jeff,
on that
Jeff,
trade, on
Jeff,
that trade, the
Jeff.
guy is up on the
Yes.
paper side of it. And so it's just, when do you get it back into the physical part before it
Correct.
is, as like Mike Maloney has said, like the unobtainium part of it, when another health event comes and it's gone. You know what I mean? I guess that's the part where it's like, you should always have that you got to have the core before you got anything, anything else. I mean, that's the there was what is that guy, Greg Manarino? I always like that. He said, "Be your own central bank." And you want to have, man, you want to have your collateral that no one can ever mess with. Yeah, I just you got to.
But
In
this
my
is
opinion,
what's
you always got
crazy,
to have
Jeff.
some kind of physical holding. Even Brett Johnson, he's always said that. People give him a hard time. All that it's kind of crazy, but he's always been like, you definitely want to have some physical gold. Like, look at what I'm
Yes,
talking about. He's like, you
yes,
know, why
from
why
day
would you
one.
not? Why would
Yes,
you not?
yeah.
So and then outside of that, you can figure out what you want your speculations to be and all that stuff. But that's ultimately we're getting to the point though where the dollar price of Bitcoin, for example, or the dollar price of Nvidia, for example, is trying to tell you something. These are highly illogical, like vertical moves. And so what it's trying to tell you, we're just not getting it. And so ultimately you get to the point where gold is going to show you that now. Gold is going to say, all right, well, geez, I mean, look, I'm going to get some of that. And it's not going to be this like little, we're going to go to 2,400 and we're going to correct it. No. I mean, there is an event coming. The same thing in silver. There is an event. And who knows if it's tied to the derivatives and all that stuff to fit the, if that's what they want to use when the story comes. But ultimately, the dollar has been called, right? And we're gonna go find the real value of the dollar based on a gold price and a silver price. It's just like the Hidden Secrets of Money. If you ever watch Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney, anybody watching this, stop now, go watch it immediately, and then catch back up with us another time. That is like the guy lays the entire thing out. I mean, the entire thing, and he's into Bitcoin. I mean, like it just so we're near that point though, and there's nothing really other to say. I think we've seen everything. That you got a little bit of a turn in the price. There's just a definite change of attitude in the price of metals. There's a definite change of attitude in the price of the miners and the way that they're behaving. Again, no one's really talking about it. No one's so
I remember
there's
the name. I remember the name. Does Ed Steer makes did you hear about the name Ed
yeah,
Steer?
yeah.
Okay.
Ed
Ed
Steer, yeah,
Steer
he's
was
a
on he
he
was on
writes
the other
for
side
like
when
so
he said that.
yeah, he writes for one of those companies. Yeah, he's got good analysis.
Yeah, I just I've been following him for a while. And when he said that, I was like, wow, this is shocking. And then I heard it again. So let me just go back for the
That
last
that
couple of
is
minutes we have
that's
left.
crazy.
And let me go back to this. When the guy from the miner from Canada, when he was here at the ranch for a couple of nights, when he told me that he is selling all of his physical to buy crypto, he did not say he's making a trade, because that would be a really good move at the time. Very risky. Don't get me wrong, because if you get
Yeah,
caught with your pants down, you can't put your hands on physical. But he did not say, he basically said it's over for the physical, that the
yeah,
Bitcoin
that's
is taking over.
and you know what?
Then you hear Ed
That's the
Steer
thing
said
though.
what he said. Okay.
Maybe these guys are right. Maybe they're right, and that's totally fine. And see, that's the great part about this is we're all going to find out. You know what I mean? Like, and we're on a we're certainly on a different path than we were before the events of 2020, without a doubt. And you know what? Maybe you and I are completely incorrect, and we are moving onto you know into a crypto world where maybe it's Dogecoin, maybe it's Bitcoin, maybe it's the OMG network. I don't know, and I could be. Who knows? I'll have to roll with it, and obviously, I will. Anybody who has taken this side of it will have to suffer the consequence of that if that's the way that we go, and that's just the way it is. And on the flip side, it's the exact same thing. If you got everything on, kind of that front, then you take your
I'm,
chances.
I'm
The market,
willing.
the
I'm
market, the
willing. I'm
market is
willing to
going to
take that
speak to you, right?
chance. I'm willing to take that chance. I'm perfectly fine getting stuck with like beef, physical silver.
Me too,
Gold,
man.
you
That's
know,
that's the thing. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
am
I'm
too.
that's okay. We can be taken over. I'm just going with what's worked
Yeah,
for 5 centuries, and I'm not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Millennia.
Yes, yes.
Not
That's what I'm
yeah, not
looking at.
even centuries.
I have
Yeah,
I have
it's
a rule of thumb, Jeff, and I always tell this to everyone. Okay, when Tom Brady was still playing in NFL, which he just recently retired, I think it's been 2 years, right? I might be wrong on that, or a year. I said I don't ever want to bet against Tom Brady. Yes, he's lost some games. Gays. That's it for our channel. It's over now. He's lost some games, okay? But when it comes to like, I'm placing a bet, I don't feel comfortable. I never did bet
yeah,
against him. I don't bet against Aaron Rodgers, and I don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I don't care who you like, who you don't like. When I would step foot at the sports book in Las Vegas, where I used to live again, where I spent a lot of time when I would play poker in between, okay, I'm going to place bets. I just don't. And I look at this whole thing with investing again, it is not advice. It is just the way I see it. I am not going to mess with gold. I'm not going to bet against Brady. I'm just looking at history, and gold has a lot more history than Tom Brady. So that's kind of like, if we have about a minute, if you want to finish off on that before we finish for today.
yeah, yeah. I mean, no, you kind of said it. I'm perfectly fine. Like just given what I see in the world and the conversations that I have, and I just think through things in a very logical manner. Uh, yeah, I'm totally fine being stuck with physical items in like in my household or
Close.
within my reach, pretty nearby. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
obviously, with that being said, it comes with its own set of circumstances you got to deal with, just like anything else. But no, it was funny the other day though. I put up this post. There's a guy I like to follow. Is Dylan LeClaire. He's a big Bitcoin guy. Anyways, he had this picture up of a one of those cold storage wallets,
Mhm.
and I was just like, back in the day in the 30s, right? You do the midnight gardening. When gold got confiscated, people go out and dig a hole and stick their gold in there so it didn't be confiscated. And so if we go to a Bitcoin standard and the government is like, look, this is the new currency system. Hey, maybe that is. You got to turn in all your Bitcoin. Are you going to be seeing people go out, like bury their cell phones in these cold storage wallets in their
Yeah.
yard, and
Yeah.
then come back in 2,000 years and see what that thing is worth? Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. Hey, like
Um,
you said, maybe we're wrong. I'm still going to
we
bet.
might be, dude. We
Yeah,
might be. We
we
might be.
might be, and that's okay. And we can be chastised. We're going to be chastised anyways, regardless. As the
Yeah.
most famous or bigger you get, you got more haters and Karens out there that will go after you. But we're all good. We're going to try to come back next Friday again. If not, it'll be a Friday after. For those that are interested in what else Jeff has to say. I've been enjoying these, man, and I really hope that we can connect again on Friday and see what is going on. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you
think
again for
I think I
today.
think I think on well, we'll see. We'll see. I think, giving away, we'll see how things close down today, but could see some nice action Sunday evening. But we'll see what happens, but we'll be in
We'll
touch.
we'll reconnect. Thank you so much, and we are out.